Hey everyone, welcome to Taking the Pulse, a healthcare and life sciences video podcast. Today, Lauren DeMoss and I are coming to you from NC Bio's 2023 annual meeting. This is one of the Southeast premier life sciences events, bringing together both regional and national leaders to talk about all things life sciences. Joining us in this session are Triangle CERSI's Dr. Susan Halabi and Dr. Ehsan Samei, both from Duke University. They are part of a team leading the new Triangle CERSI, which stands for Center of Excellence in Regulatory Science and Innovation. The Triangle CERSI is one of 5 CERSIs across the United States, and they are federally funded by the FDA. Dr. Halabi, thank you so much for joining us. Could you start us off by explaining a little bit more? We understand this is a collaborative effort between Duke University, the University of North Carolina, and other higher ed institutions in North Carolina. What is it that you and your team are going to be doing, and how will this ultimately benefit patients?
Thank you for having me today, Heather. It's really an honor to share with you our exciting news about the Research Triangle CERSI. So this is indeed correct. The Research Triangle CERSI comprises of 4 higher educational institutions in North Carolina, including the University of North Carolina, Duke University, North Carolina State University, and North Carolina Central University. And in addition, we are leveraging institutions and partnering industries such as the Borough's Wellcome Fund. So we're really excited about this CERSI, and as you indicated, it's 1 out of 5 national CERSI, because our mission is here to be a one-stop shop to meet the FDA currents and evolving regulatory needs. We envision that the Research Triangle CERSI will be an accelerator for scientific discovery and research that will ultimately benefit patients in real time.
Dr. Samei, we've seen, I think, an increased appreciation for public health since the pandemic. Not that there wasn't appreciation before, but certainly everyone's much more aware of the important work being done. And it's our understanding that the Triangle CERSI received $50 million in funding from the FDA, which is over 5 years. Can you tell us how you worked with the FDA to obtain that funding?
So there was a competitive process, and we came together as a group of institutions. As you might imagine, we have some common interests apart from basketball. And of course, being in the Triangle, really Triangle area is a hub of activities in biomedical sciences. And we are divided into multiple entities, of course, Duke, UNC, and beyond. But we all have a common interest, and that is putting our science in service of the society. And when there is a call coming from FDA in this case, for regulatory science, we realize really there is a need to put our service towards that particular need. So we joined together. First of all, one thing I would acknowledge is that, big needs always need to have diverse teams. And we have so much expertise here. So we decided to work together as opposed to competing with one another, that they joined forces. In fact, there were some ideas early on that each one of us or each one of our institutions will put a separate application in. And then we realized actually it would be much better and much more effective to sort of pool our resources together. And as a result, we have created something that is quite unique, that we come together with a unique voice representing the entire Triangle area and addressing FDA's need. There were a large number of applications that FDA received, and we were one of the, shall we say, one of the top ranked, maybe the top ranked, as judged by the NIH. The application itself was judged by the panel of reviewers of the NIH that FDA used. So we were top ranked in that space, and we are really delighted that we were selected as the 5th CERSI in the nation.
I'm sure that collaboration and that working together made it an attractive application. The things you mentioned in terms of being a top-ranked application.
Right. In fact, I would say that that complementarity and the fact that we represent, even me and Dr. Halabi represent different interests and different expertise, but we are standing here together working with each other in addition to other PIs, Dr. Watkins and Dr. Mentz. So each one of us have our own stories, have our own expertise, have our own perspective. And again, going back to what I said, big questions required diverse participation. And that's exactly what the Triangle CERSI is.
It's great to hear that. Dr. Halabi, you mentioned in your opening remarks how this process might speed up medical device development or drug development. Talk about how that might happen and why there is a need for that.
Thank you, Heather. This is really an important question, and this is the crux of the whole application of the Center for Evaluation in Regulatory Science. So basically, the technology has been going on at an exponential rate. However, the methodology in terms of drug approval has not kept pace with the technology. So what we envision is we're going to equip the FDA and other stakeholders with important tools, efficient, transparent, and validated tools that will not only augment but enhance in the regulatory approval process. So in other words, what we're doing is we're shortening the time for a drug to be approved. And ultimately, this is real and timely benefit to the patients, because the patients are waiting to be enrolled on the trials. They're waiting patiently for the results to come out. And sometimes if we can use, let's say, real-world data, or we use artificial intelligence or machine learning, and use some of the 21st century tools and technology that we develop within the RT CERSI, then we're hoping by equipping the FDA with these tools, it will definitely cut the duration for the drug approval. And it's not only the drug approval, it's also post-approval, like monitoring things. So like, do we have any unnecessary side effects? So if we come up with these kind of tools, and it will be at the FDA's fingertips. But again, I view this, we're involving not only FDA, but our industry partners, because at the end of the day, everyone is going to benefit by this kind of collaboration. And of course, the real benefit is coming to the patients, and this is why we're excited about this.
Yes.
When you talk about the drug approval process, the COVID vaccines kind of come to mind, and the need to approve more quickly and get things done. How do you think that influenced, what you all are working on, and kind of highlighting the need for the FDA to kind of better expedite the approval process?
I would say the COVID situation definitely energized and expedited our need for updating our regulatory processes. Challenged not just the FDA, challenged us as a society, as a community, how we come up to speed. In biomedical sciences, well, sometimes, first of all, you have pandemics such as COVID that we did not anticipate. But even beyond COVID, biomedical sciences are very progressive and becoming more progressive over time. So, when we think about biomedical innovation, we feel like, okay, the need is really more innovation and more. But the innovations are effective to the extent that you effectually put them in the service. So, just reflecting what Susan said, is that you can come up with the greatest drugs or products or whatever, but if you do not concurrently update your evaluation processes, how do you know? I mean, any innovator thinks that their thing is the most innovating and important thing, but how do you know if you don't evaluate it? So in the same way that we are advancing biomedical sciences, we also need to advance processes to evaluate these products. And of course, the COVID situation put an extra oomph on top of that need that we all recognize.
Yes. The other, so you're one of 5 CERSIs, and the other ones in the United States are at the University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins University, Yale University in a joint effort with Mayo Clinic, and the University of California at San Francisco in a joint effort with Stanford University. Are all the CERSIs focused on the same goals, Dr. Samei? And what is unique about your CERSI, maybe in the aspirations in terms of what you want to accomplish?
Yes and no. In a broad sense, yes, they're all on the same goal. And we are actually delighted to partner with them in that space. We want to advance. We want to make the FDA regulatory processes more proficient, more efficient, not just for the sake of FDA, for the sake of us, our society, for the sake of our patients that Dr. Halabi mentioned multiple times. So from that standpoint, we are all barking under the same tree and advancing toward the same goal. However, science by a large extent is informed by the individuals, the actual scientists who are doing the science. Even though we always like to think that what we do is the most objective thing, but the reality is that we are informed by our DNAs and so on. And I would say Triangle CERSI has a slightly different DNA. And one DNA, which was alluded to earlier, is this collaborative process and collaborative space that we are trying to curate here. So the other institutions, some of them actually you already see they are joined two institutions together to form a CERSI. Here we all, in fact, extend that even further. And I feel like I know that we are the only CERSI that has 4 PIs, which sounds crazy, but that's a unique advantage. Each one of us bring different expertise in imaging, in silico trials, biostatistics, pediatrics, drug safety, and innovation, and all of these coming together. So that would be one of our unique attributes of representing a broader community across the entire triangle. Susan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with what you said, Dr. Samei. I personally think that now, in terms of scientific discovery, you cannot work in silo. There is room for collaboration. And even though the other CERSIs are focusing on the same areas in terms of regulatory science, we each have our unique expertise. It's like a mosaic. Everyone is a different pattern, has their own unique patterns and design. But ultimately, we're serving the U.S. patient, and not only U.S. patient, all patients globally, because once a drug is approved, whether it's for a rare disease or a device that's badly needed, everyone is going to benefit from that.
Well, and you've touched on the strength of the universities that are within this Triangle CERSI and how strong they are from a research perspective, and I think it's clear that helped kind of enable you all to land, this grant. Dr. Halabi, in terms of what work will be done, will other departments within the universities collaborate, or will it kind of just be centered on healthcare when you think of who all will be involved?
That's a very good question, Lauren. And to answer your question, actually, it's not only focused on healthcare. Just to give you an idea, the Research Triangle CERSI has 2 medical schools, 2 schools of nursing, 1 school of public health, 1 school of pharmacy, 1 college, veterinarian college, 2 schools of engineering. So when we talk about the scientific progress we're bringing in, we're tapping into different areas. We have tremendous expertise in statistical methodology, something called Bayesian designs. We have tremendous expertise also in clinical trial design and conduct. We're going to be using machine learning and artificial intelligence to advance our knowledge and advance some of the processes that Dr. Samei indicated. So it's beyond health. We're using all the quantitative sciences together here to create a beautiful picture for the patients, ultimately.
Dr. Samei, I think I know the answer to this question, but will the CERSI here just focus only on clinical trials, or will it be, as you noted, processes and just further than the trial?
Well, clinical trial is one of the most important and effective means to evaluate a product. So we would definitely looking at that, but we're going to expand beyond that. So there are aspects of how you conduct a clinical trial in the most efficient fashion. We cannot afford something that would take 4 years to prove or disprove. Our patients cannot wait that long. So we need to find means to do that. I mean, one of the methods, for example, I'm just using this as one example, is that there is a significant interest in what we call in silico trials, creating digital twins of individual patients and do the trial on these digital twins as a way to speed up and simplify the clinical processes. So if I know ahead of time computationally whether a product would be effective or not, I can either forego of the clinical trial, or even if not, if you don't have that much confidence, at least we can figure out how to do the clinical trial most efficiently. So we don't need to have 50,000 patients to figure something out. We can maybe get away with 50 patients or 500 patients. That way, as opposed to waiting 4 years to get something done, we can get it done in 5 months, right? These are sort of processes that we are exploring in this work to try to see how we can make our regulatory science more efficient, more proficient, more cost effective, and trying to bring additional intelligence into that space. It's not saying that what we are doing already is not intelligent. It is. But again, what I said earlier, as we have responsibility to advance biomedical sciences through our innovation, we also have the responsibility to figure out how also innovatively evaluate them.
Right.
Right.
And to add to what Dr. Samei is saying, it's beyond also clinical trials. I think there is a huge component of training and mentoring the next generation of scientists, and especially diverse population. So this is why our partnering with North Carolina Central University is going to be key. I personally have committed my entire career for training the next generation of scientists, and I think it is really exciting. And in addition to training the next generation of scientists, I think you already touched on it, Dr. Samei, is our responsibility to educate the public. So there will be a lot of content, plain language content, where the average person can read the tools or can read about things that this network is doing that will hit home. And again, it is really our responsibility to educate the public. I think I cannot overemphasize this point, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree. I feel like as our science is advancing, the expertise to be able to figure out what it says is also advancing to a point that creates a dissociation between the experts and the public. And that dissociation creates mistrust. Yeah. And we have already seen the results of that kind of mistrust. So again, another pitch here is that we also responsible to broadcast, to educate, to inform probably a better word, the public about what is the science that we do, why this science is needed, why do you need expertise is needed. Science is not for a bunch of people in the ivory tower to do science and be, honored by the society. Science is there to serve the society. So we need to provide vocabulary. We need to provide communication methods to most effectually bring that insight into the public space. And one other thing I would say, going back to education, thank you for bringing that up, Susan. For me, education is ultimately about sustainability. So we can create something here, and then 5 years, 10 years from now, we are retired. So what's going to happen to that intelligence that we have cooked up? Somehow needs to be passed on to the next generation. Exactly. So sustainability, long-term sustainability requires us to be more also effective in education space.
Yes. Well, both of you have made complicated issues very plain and simple to us today, and they make a lot of sense to me. So I'm grateful for your passion and for your willingness to do this, and for your humility to be willing to collaborate. On behalf of our viewers who have watched today and everybody here at Taking the Pulse, Dr. Susan Halabi, Dr. Ehsan Samei, both from Duke University, thank you for joining us, and thank you to your teams at Triangle CERSI.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Great to have you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.